What is up, guys? Rumble Rants here, back with another breakdown, breaking down the entire card for UFC 316 this Saturday. Appreciate everyone's support. Feel free to view my breakdown for the entire main event. For this breakdown video, I want to keep it to about 1 to 2 minutes per fight. For the main event, a lot more in-depth breakdown, so I did a full about 8-minute video on that, which has already been posted to the channel. Before we get started, make sure you follow me on X at Rumble Rants right here. You'll see my full card breakdowns. I'm coming off a losing week. Last week we did lose 4.75 units, my worst week in about 2 or 3 years. And every time we lose, we bounce back. If you notice, the overall profit chart still looks good on a solid upward trend. Can't even talk. So I expect a solid bounce back, and this is the week to do it. In saying that, a lot of big favorites this week. So interesting fight card to break down. It doesn't take a genius to take a lot of these favorites, so I'll keep these breakdowns hopefully short and sweet. On to the first fight of the night. We got Mark Chionski. I'm going to butcher his last name. Taking on Marquel Medeiros. Medeiros was supposed to fight last week. He was sick. Now he's fine. Fighting this week. Who knows what the hell's happening? And Mark's coming on short notice. Mark does have a solid wrestling background. He does fight out Rufus Sport there in Chicago. And they usually have a good camp of strikers. So I'm sure he's developing that game. On film, he's still pretty raw when it comes to striking. Overall, this fight's just a pass for me. Medeiros is at minus 203 now. I know this line on Tapology shows minus 245. The line is coming down. I would say it's probably dog or pass for me right now. Still some more work to do on this one. This is one I still have a little bit more. I want to go back and watch a few more other fights. On the next fight, we got Quillian Salakid taking on Yanal Ashmoose. Ashmoose is a fighter I've never really been too high on. He pulled the upset in Sam Patterson, which shocked me. Then he also beat Trevor Peek. He does have some UFC wins. I feel like this is a case where Salakid is better pretty much everywhere. This kid's fast, man. I think he's only 25 years old. Fast hands, looks like a good striker. He is there to be hit, though, and Ashmoose can crack. I think it's pretty much knockout or bust for Ashmoose. I like Salakid here. Not sure if it's going to be a parlay piece. This is a weird bet where I do think it's favorite or pass, even at the minus 550 current line price. On to the next fight. We got Ju Sang Yu taking on Jeka Saraguay. So this is another fighter. Saraguay is a guy I'm not high on either. It's hard when you lose to Weston Wilson and Anshul Jubilee, two of the worst fighters in the UFC, and you lost to both of them. I know Jeka does have a UFC win. This is Ju Sang Yu's debut. I believe he was fighting in the Korean Zombies fight promotion. I don't know why I couldn't say that. The pick here is going to be Ju Sang Yu. He's minus 600. Not a hard bet to figure out. I do like him inside the distance at minus 165. Sorry, Jeka does show some quit when times get tough. He does seem to get out of there. So if you want to take him inside the distance, I do like that. Not sure if I'm going to be betting it or not. The line, it's another line with a huge favorite. I would just be surprised to see Ju Sang Yu lose this opportunity. On to the fourth fight of the night. We're kind of flying through this fight card. I'm liking this. Quick picks, quick bets. We got Kong Wang taking on Ariane Lipski. So Kong Wang's a fighter I was super high on when she came into the UFC. She has beaten Valentina Shevchenko in kickboxing back in the day, and I thought the UFC was going to hype her up like Alex Pereira in the Israel Adesanya beef, where they kind of sped rush Adesanya or Pereira into the title hunt. I thought they were going to do something similar to Kong Wang because she does have good kickboxing and a lot of upside. But then she got caught against Gabriela Fernandez. She was a minus 950 favorite, 950 favorite, and got caught and lost. It's hard to do. I did think Kong Wang had a ton of upside coming off the hard loss, and she rebounded with another win. Still think the upside's there. And then for Lipski, she was a stud pre-UFC. I'm talking like 5-6 years ago. If you watch her pre-UFC, she was a stud. I was super high on her coming into the UFC as well. Then when she got in the UFC, she just looked like a different fighter. Made me wonder if PEDs were involved. No accusations on my part here. Maybe it was just a bright light. She, stopped performing as well. But her nickname is the Queen of Violence, and she seemed to be turning a corner here in the UFC recently. And then now with 2 straight losses to Karine Silva and Jasmine Jazz Duvicious. Seems to be taking a turn for the worst. It's a weird fight to predict. I think if it stays standing, Kong Wing's have a massive advantage here. But Lipski rarely shoots takedowns. If she can get to the ground, I do kind of lean her, but it's not like she gets the fights to the ground often. I think if it stays standing, she may be in big trouble. Lipski, I went back and looked. She only has 4 takedowns in her 13 UFC fights. What's the odds she shoots a takedown here? I think it's going to be one of those things where Kong Wing just has her outgunned. So my pick here is Kong Wing. Not sure if I can get to the betting window, though. It's just an overall pass for me at this point. I don't have a good read on it. On to the next fight. We got Chaos Williams taking on Andreas Gustafsson. Gustafsson was another fighter who was supposed to fight last week. He was supposed to fight Jeremiah Wells. That fight fell off. Then he was supposed to fight Trevin Giles. He even weighed in, and Trevin Giles couldn't make weight and got sick or fell. I forget what it was. I think he fell on his head or something. But yeah, so Gustafsson moves back a week, and now he's on this fight card taking on Chaos Williams. Gustafsson's interesting fighter. He's had a big win in the Contender Series. He's 34 years old, so it's kind of where he has to kind of get rushed into these more difficult fights. He's not getting the typical slow roll. Being a Contender Series fight at 34, he's kind of, now or never for him. I do like his clinch work. He's one of those fighters that fights, I guess, balls to the wall. I don't want to say what he posted on Instagram. I know it's been talked about on other channels, and I saw it as well. But I feel like if he fights like that, just pure volume, pure chaos against chaos, I feel like he has a decent shot in this one. Chaos Williams has had a long UFC career. He's from Detroit. I'm from Metro Detroit. I've always liked him, but I've never been overly high on him and his abilities. I think he's kind of overachieved up to this point. So for me, I think the line's about right. Right now, Chaos Williams is a minus 192 favorite. Gustafsson's plus 160. But there's one pick I do like in this fight, and I will be betting it. It's Gustafsson, decisions only at plus 130. Chaos Williams has a ton of power, can crack. It wouldn't shock me at all if Gustafsson ran into a knockout shot and got slept. On the other hand of things, I think that Williams does have low volume. Gustafsson, being the high volume pressure fighter, cage clincher he is, I think if it does go to decision, I do like Gustafsson to win more often than not in a decision. And at plus 130, which is an implied probability here of, let's go back, plus 130, 43%. I think we're getting some solid value there. So, yeah, I do like Gustafsson, decisions only. On to the next fight, we got Sergey Spivak taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta. Waldo Cortez Acosta is a fighter I was pretty high on when he first came into the UFC. I still like him. I think his footwork's great. He just lacks the power and finishing potential in a lot of these fights. I know he just finished Ryan Spann, and he did have a fight that he finished earlier in his UFC career against Lucas Bresky. But Ryan Spann doesn't have a chin, and Lucas Bresky just isn't at this level. Ryan Spann moving up in weight and having no chin, it was always a recipe for disaster. Another thing to note here is Waldo's never really fought a wrestler. This is a typical wrestler, striker versus grappler matchup here, so it's a bit of an unknown here. But typically heavyweights with his type of footwork don't have great takedown defense. And Spivak's also fought the much more higher level of competitions, fought much more dangerous strikers than Waldo Cortez Acosta. Spivak right now is only minus 135 on DraftKings. I do like Spivak in that fight as well. On to the 7th fight of the night. We got Azmat Mirzakhanov taking on Bredson Ribeiro. This is another pretty straightforward fight, right? We got a minus 625 favorite on Mirzakhanov. It doesn't take a genius to take him. Let's be honest, I think he is a rightful favorite. But I do have some concerns on Mirzakhanov. He is quite passive at times. He almost lost to Tefan and Chukwi due to his being so passive. But when he gets going, he gets going. The thing in this fight is Bredson Ribeiro, he can crack. He's kind of like the walking meme where he seems to be in trouble and just land some crazy stuff. But I don't think he'll let Mirzakhanov be passive. So I think Mirzakhanov's going to come out firing much more often. And I do like this fight to end in round 1 at plus 100. I just would be surprised if Ribeiro is firing. I think Mirzakhanov's going to be doing his typical counter striking and will land something that puts him away. If not, maybe Bredson lands something. My pick is Azmat Mirzakhanov. Not sure I'm going to bet it or parlay it. He should win. I don't think It's just a levels fight here, and I do like it to go under. So I do like fight ends in round one at even money. Sorry, I had a cough. Hopefully, I muted. Still getting used to this whole technology thing in filming. So on to the next fight. We got Joshua Van taking on Bruno Silva. You guessed it, another huge favorite. Minus 650 here on Josh Van. Plus 470 is the comeback on Bruno Silva. So this is another interesting fight. I really do love watching Joshua Van fight. Such a good striker. He can be a slow starter, but man, he dishes out damage. On the other side, you got Bruno Silva, who can also crack, man. He hits hard. Silva's coming off a tough fight against Manel Kape, where he took a ton of damage in that fight. I know that fight was about 6 months ago now, but that was a levels fight, and I think this is kind of the same deal here. Bruno Silva is very passive, but does have a ton of power, and Van, although he's a slow starter, he actually might put out more volume than Bruno Silva. Silva can win fights by catching guys, and Van has been KO'd before. We saw him get knocked out by Charles Johnson in a fight he was clearly winning. But I think he learned his lesson there, man. Joshua Van's only 23 years old, 12 years younger than Bruno Silva. Van is minus 650, but I still like him. I don't know if I like him at that price. He might be a parlay piece, might not be. This fight card's so difficult, makes you get these huge favorites, and I think most of them should win. I mean, obviously, that's why they're the huge favorite. But I do like Van. Another bet I'd like is fight does not go the distance. Fight doesn't go the distance is minus 110. So around to pick them. Bruno Silva has some upside to finish the fight. Obviously, Joshua Van could crack. He can finish the fight inside the distance. I do kind of like the fight doesn't go here. On to the next fight. We got Vicente Luque taking on Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland is the minus 270 favorite now on DraftKings. Vicente Luque is a return on at plus 220. Very interesting fight here. I've always been high on Vicente Luque. I think his time's kind of wrapping up, right? Luque had a scary brain bleeding incident after losing to Jeff Neal. He's been in wars before. He's taken a lot of damage in a lot of his fights. He lost to Buckley and then came back in his last outing. And we cashed big on him, actually. We bet big on him to beat Themba Gorimbo. That was just a levels fight. I was shocked the line was what it was. And Vicente Luque cashed and made it look easy. But the thing is, since he's got that brain injury, he hasn't faced too many power punchers besides Buckley, who he lost to. And now he's back facing another scary striker in Kevin Holland. On the other side of things, Holland now back down to 170. He's going to be this pure striker in this fight. If he can keep it standing, he should be in good shape. He does have much better takedown defense at 170. He struggles sometimes at 185 when he moves up in weight. He's just outgunned. Much smaller fighter there. I do expect Kevin Holland to get the job done here. I think it's a good fight for him. So I like Kevin Holland minus 270. I'm not sure if I'm going to parlay it. Wait for my card on tomorrow night, maybe Saturday morning. I do like the under 2.5 as well at minus 160. Luque could catch a sub. You never know. His jiu-jitsu is insane. But I think he's outgunned on the feet here. On the next fight, we got Mario Bautista taking on Patchy Mix. So I need a water break. We're going live. I don't know how to edit. It is what it is. If you saw this, comment below water. Make sure I hydrate before filming. So on to the Mario Bautista Patchy Mix fight. Patchy Mix is coming over from Bellator. He was a Bellator champion. The Bellator PFL merger thing didn't go well for him. His contract expired, got released. I'm not sure the whole ordeal, but now he's in the UFC. 20-1. Has fought some great competition over in Bellator. He's a favorite here at minus 185. He's beaten the likes of Magomedov, Sergio Pettis, Rafion Stouts, Horiguchi used to be in the UFC as well. He has elite grappling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's also landed some crazy shots like the knee he landed on Rafion Stouts. Great well-rounded, or becoming more and more well-rounded. I know his striking isn't at that incredible tier yet, but he's slowly getting there. Mario Bautista is well-rounded. I know he just won that boring decision against Jose Aldo. I thought it was a robbery. I did swear that for Aldo, actually. I think the grappling position should be scored neutrally, not as an advantage. And Aldo, I think, did more damage outside of that. But it is what it is. It's over with. And Bautista is one of those guys that the market has never been overly high on. One example I like to go back to is he was plus 160 against Ricky Simone. I know Simone's more of a wrestler, where Mix is more of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player, but generally if the market is that off, something is going on there. I do think Patrick Mix gets it done here in his UFC debut at minus 185. This one I'm not overly confident in. Yet more work to do. I want to go back and watch some of Bautista's fights and some of those scrambles and grappling positions. I think it's one of those fights where Bautista could look good until he doesn't. In the scramble, I think he just could get subbed. But we'll see. On to the next fight. We got Kelvin Gastelum taking on Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer. So this is a very compelling fight. This fight was actually booked back in Mexico. Joe Pyfer, I think, drank some Mexican water. Said he didn't want to fight. Got sick. Said he'd never fight there again. So now it's rebooked for near his hometown, right in the New York, New Jersey area. So body bags, Joe Pyfer. I think the keys to this fight are the reach and size advantage. Joe Pyfer looked substantially bigger today in the face-offs during the pre-fight press conference. He's 6'2", fighting a 5'9" Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum also is going to be outgunned when it comes to reach. Gastelum should, let's be honest, he should be a 170 here. I think if he was in shape, he might be able to get down to 155. You know what I mean? And Joe Pyfer is probably going to end his career at 205. He's a big 185er. I think that, the days of Gastelum being able to survive with these bigger 185ers who are younger, these up-and-coming guys with just more weapons at their arsenal are kind of done with. I know Pyfer was, fraud checked by Hermanson, but he did win rounds 1 and 2 in that fight. He lost out, but this is a 3-round fight. It's not altitude anymore. I thought that was going to be a concern for him in fighting in Mexico. That's no longer a concern. Now in a 3-round fight, I just think he's too much for Gastelum. Also, Gastelum looked horrible against Dana Rodriguez his last fight out. I bet him. He won, but he did not look well that fight. He just looked slow, didn't counter well. I don't know. I really think that Joe Pyfer's been the first guy to put away Kelvin Gastelum by knockout. I like Pyfer minus 380. I like the under 2.5 at plus 105. I know Gastelum's tough as nails, man. Just a true warrior, but he's outgunned here. Another favorite, shocker. I know it doesn't take a genius to take all these favorites, but very weird UFC card this week with a lot of favorites. I can see some ways some dogs can win, but if I'm just making picks, it's hard to take them when I think a lot of them are outgunned. Speaking of outgunned, we're in another fight where there's a huge favorite. So in the co-main event for the UFC Bantamweight division, in the female division, we got Juliana Pena, current champion, taking on Kayla Harrison. Julia Pena, huge underdog at plus 525, taking on the minus 750 Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison's coming over from the PFL. She dominated the scene over there. Her one lone loss was to Pacheco in PFL. And in that fight, Pacheco is equal to Harrison when it comes to size, strength, and that great equalizer was somewhat of the difference there. The reason I think that's not going to matter in this fight, and the reason why I think Kayla Harrison's a good matchup for her, is because Harrison's going to be so much bigger, stronger. She has a massive physicality advantage here over Pena. And although Kayla Harrison's cardio is not great, I don't think it's going to get there. I don't think Pena can cause her too much trouble. I think it's one of those things where I know Pena is a great nail where she can take a beating. She's shown that against Amanda Nunes. I think Pena is kind of screwed here unless she can extend the fight that way she did against Nunes, take the beating like she did, and then somehow steal one, whether it's a sub or just laying some ground and pound on Harrison. But I just don't think that's likely. For me, I think Kayla Harrison's just going to be too much for her. My pick's Kayla Harrison minus 750. I also like her inside the distance here. I really think she's going to put Juliana Pena away. Kayla Harrison inside the distance minus 165 will be a bet for me. Yeah. So look out for that one too. I also like the under 4.5, just in case there's a meme that somehow Harrison gasses, Pena lands a sub or something crazy. You never know. But I really think Kayla Harrison's the side. And into the main event, we got Sean O'Malley taking on Merab Dvalishvili in the rematch from last, I believe, September at the Sphere. I have a full breakdown of this fight. Feel free to watch that. I'll tag it in this video where I can go in a lot more detail. But my pick's going to be Sean O'Malley. I like him at plus 230. I like the under 4.5 at plus 210. I like O'Malley finishes only minus 125. I think we didn't learn a lot in that first fight. Every fight, going into the first fight, everyone thought it was about a 50-50 fight. O'Malley did win 2 rounds in the fight, even though by optics it looked like he got dominated. If he would have landed more in round 1, we could have had O'Malley retaining even. And I think it's one of those things where he didn't land that knockout shot the first time in 5 rounds doesn't mean he's not going to land it the second time in another 5 rounds. I think it's still close to a 50-50 fight. Wouldn't shock me from round 1. I'm not telling you to bet your house on O'Malley. I just think it's good value, and I think if you're getting what I think to be closer to a 50-50 fight, you're getting O'Malley at plus 230. I think it's a must bet in the situation. So there it is. The breakdowns for UFC 316. Let me know your bets, your favorite bets, any underdogs you like, anything I missed, any underdogs I should look into a little bit more research to do. My full betting card will be posted on @RoboRants on X. Feel free to follow me. Appreciate all your support. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm out.